I'm glad you got here before me.
I got all the way to where the land is right there, and I got out, pulled my kayak across the ice and then put it right here.
My God.
I couldn't get through it this morning. I was like,
That was tough. I'm about to sweat to death now. I got plenty of clothes. I didn't think it was going to be like that this far up in the day.
I figured it had been broke up from what Miles posted the other day. I got here and some guys were out here duck hunting.
Oh hell.
Yeah, and they were out there already. They'd gone through before I got here, but they were frozen solid behind them.
I need to get out here before it freezes back up. Did you catch any?
I caught 7 and lost 4. Nothing real. I did have something huge hit that A-rig and take off with it and come undone, but
yeah.
I think the biggest one I got, he was probably around 3. Most of them were around 2 pounds.
Hey, on a winter's day, it can be feast or famine.
Oh yeah, I've been doing good. That little PRD, I tell you what, every time I come out here, I catch a fish.
I got my camera running. You mind if I use any of this?
Go ahead. I don't mind one bit.
I certainly want to use that. That is, I wasn't expecting that much ice on Lake England, but whew, I may have to shed a sweatshirt here in a minute.
I have to take off my boggin. I By the time I got here, I had to stop, stand on the ice right there. Like, okay, just cool down a little bit before I start paddling.
Oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting all that. And I got a late start. I just hadn't been feeling well. And that's been my trouble for about a year now. I like to get up like everybody else and go early even when it's cold, because I know when that sun starts climbing, they start moving around. But
as soon as these clouds come in, the bite just starts slowly dying down. I started working my way back. I had a couple little bites, but I couldn't hook up on them.
yeah.
That wind was blowing me, and by the time I feel that I got too much cloud, it's too late. Never set the hook and they're already split.
That's the way the last time I saw you out here, they were so light. And if you weren't paying attention, they would blow it back out. And that's when I realized, every one of my bites was like that. It was heavy, and I thought, oh, I better set the hook anyway. And that's exactly what it was.
I mean, if you've got any type of slack in your line, you're not going to feel it.
And some of them ran, like if I had cast to you,
Yep.
they were nearly under the boat, and I was thinking I was about to pull my jig back up.
They were doing that to me. They were doing that today, and they've done that quite a bit here since we got cold out.
It's like they were heading right on back out to deep water where they thought they needed to be or something, and they weren't concerned. It was just a slow meander until I set the hook, and then they got a little crazy.
Fishing blind today, my depth finder just, I don't know what's up with it.
I broke a wire on mine. I figured it out last week, and I didn't fix it. But I'm kind of waiting because I've pre-ordered one of those bona fides,
Yeah.
and I'm going to wait and not do anything else to this one until I get my new one. And then I'm going to take, and I may let Jeremy Hyde work on the bottom of this one for me a little bit. I know he's got a lot of practice in lately. But well, Bud, I'm glad you caught a few. Maybe I just get a bite and I'll be happy.
Everything I got was on any type of long, floating point.
Yeah.
I'd say 7 to 8 foot deep off that point. That's where I was catching them all. I've tried everywhere along, deep, shallow, and on them points. That's where I was getting mine.
Are they out like close to where it'll drop off?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, I don't know if you know that spot that Jeremy loves in the back there.
Yeah, I'm not going that far.
Well, if you ever been back to, you know how that point starts off real shallow and then it starts to drop?
Yeah.
It's like right where it starts to drop at about the 7 to 8 foot range, they were schooled up in there. You know, the same thing off, you know, the front of this point up here and a couple other little points out here.
Now, did you throw a jig or anything?
I do on occasion, but like I said, I've been having so much luck on that PID, I just haven't been messing with the jig.
Well, if you got something that's working, don't change it. Especially now.
I tried a jig out here 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and just to see if I could hook up with something bigger.
Yeah. Well, when you heard me talking to myself the other week and saw me catch one, that's what it was.
Yeah, I watched the video afterwards. I was like, hey, and most of the videos out here, you catch them on jigs.
This is it's a good jig lake and a good spinnerbait lake. Another month, that spinnerbait I got hanging there, that War Eagle, it'll turn on. And it works a lot sooner in the year than a lot of people will think.
October and November, that's about all I was throwing was a spinnerbait. I'm just tearing them up.
I was catching, well, like now our weather was different last year than this year, because we were fishing in 50-degree weather all the time, last 50, 60, and was normal. And December, January, and February, all 3 months I caught fish right through here on a spinnerbait, right in the middle. Now, where any time a shad would flicker and you got in there with them, they'd kill it. And I'm talking about 4 or 5 pound range. Yeah.
I just put in, I see shad flicker on the surface, I put that spinnerbait up in there.
Yeah.
Get too cranky.
You know what makes me feel so good about being a kayak fisherman? When we do something like that, when we put in right there with the rest of the tournament guys on there, and they all want to run to the other end, and where they just left, that's where we start catching fish. That tickles me. Well, I hope to see you. I was trying to get out here earlier. I just couldn't get here. I hear you. Did you fish this down right here?
I didn't get no bites off it.
I'm gonna leave it alone then. We'll see you, man. Alright guys, this is day 2 of this particular show. I just met up with an actual club member of mine, Jesse Halverson. That camaraderie out on the water is as important to me as actually fishing and catching fish. And you know, us boaters, as a general rule, they tend to stick together and help each other out when we need. And it's good to see somebody else besides myself out on a brutal day like today. It's not as bad as it was last week when I began this show. I have changed lakes. I started on Lake Katoma. I decided to move to Ingram's Lake just to try to catch me a big old fat largemouth and enjoy some time in the outdoors. I don't know if we'll catch one today or not. Got a little late start as usual. It's already pushed over past, it's probably, I'm gonna say it, I'm not exactly sure, it's gotta be past 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that is not the best time to begin your fishing trip, but I go when I can. Try to make the best of it and figure out what I like to think of as a great big puzzle. Figure out where the fish are and what they'll bite, and having a tip or two from another angler always helps out if you can get them to talk to you. And that's why I always try to tell everybody exactly what I catch fish on, because I hope at some point it pays off and that information comes back to me, and it does a lot. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on each place. I'm going to throw a jig in and work it across some of these places that Jesse mentioned, these places that run out toward the deep water and get close to where it should drop off. And he's got the same problem today that I've got and had for the past 2 or 3 weeks. I've been having issues with my fish finder, my depth finder, and come to find out it wasn't actually the unit itself. I had a broke wire, and so I've got to get that straightened out where I know exactly where my depths. I don't use it so much like many fishermen do spotting fish, but I like to know the depth change. I'm a little more old school as far as that goes. The depth change to me is as important as about anything in fishing. When you can find that magic depth that they seem to be holding at, it does wonders for your fishing and your ability to get bites in tough conditions, such as the heat of the summer or either the dead of winter like we are now. Fortunately, Jesse and I both have fished this lake enough that we know areas that slope off gradually down into the deep water. And he's had some success today. I don't know if I'll match his success, but I am very proud that a friend of mine has got out on this cold winter day and caught some bass. right where Jesse said. Oh my God, please let that be on camera. Thank you, Jesse, for a humongous tip. A huge bass. Oh, Jesus. Okay, if I don't land him, you can at least look at him. This is an absolute giant. Oh, I gotta have a little slack for this head waller. Easy, easy, easy. Oh, she's wetting me. Easy, baby. Oh, I don't want to break my line off. Got her. Woo. I told you, Jesse. Throw that jig, buddy. Look at this. This is an absolute giant. Brent Quick, if you're listening, buddy, thank you for making me the most wonderful jigs in the world. Cream, for making the best trailers in the world. I don't even know what to tell you. That's 6-7 pounds or better. Very heavy. Good look at that. I want a picture of that one. That is so beautiful. That's why you fish in the winter. Let's put her back. Oh, she's gonna flop on me. Don't do it. It's wet. It's cold. Whew. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesse, for giving me that tip on where to start. My third spot produced. It's so good to have friends. And buddy, I promise you, if I get on something, I will relay that message to you. That has made my day. I do owe you a pack of jigs. I remember now. And I will make, oh, still got a scale on my jig. Did not even touch my line. Nothing. That's like when you're playing basketball and you make a good shot. Nothing but net. Nothing but hook. That was so, and that was not that light of a hit. That was a pretty good smack. And I double checked it was something I should not do jig fishing, is I double checked it like I was worm fishing. Because so many times when this bass will hit a jig, they suck it in and that's what you feel, but they also blow it right back out if they realize it's not real. It's not like with a plastic worm that they have to fill up for a minute. These jigs are made out of metal and they're heavy, and they know pretty quick, hey, this is fake. But when you're jig fishing and you feel that bite, my best advice is to set that hook immediately. Don't fool around, don't check them. And I'm in a bad habit because I worm fish so much. But I'm gonna put this one back out there again. I don't know how many big fish will be holed up on a single point. I know later on in the year, early in the spring, you can have 6 or 8 of those big girls all up on one point waiting to spread out, and they'll be staging is what it's called, getting ready to move to the bank to spawn. Right now they're in winter mode. I don't know how many may be stacked on this one point, but it's worth another cast or two before I move on to another point. I don't want to spend a lot of time on each point because I'm going to lose daylight here in an hour or so, and I want to cover 2 or 3 points, and then I want to cover some laydowns. I know Jesse didn't do that well on laydowns today, but I think these fish transition back and forth sometimes in the winter. I think they run up and down and stick closer to cover on toward night. I think the daytime drops them off into the deeper water along the edges a little more. Just my opinion. Everybody's got opinions, and last week my opinion wasn't worth a lot. I zeroed. I don't zero that much, but it happens. Bill Dance zeros too. Don't let him fool you. He got more money than I do. He can spend 3 weeks to catch a fish. I can't. So Bill, if you're listening, I could use a few tips for cold water fishing. And that fish, that bass did not hesitate. It took that whole jig in its mouth, crawl and all. And that's what you want. You don't want them hesitating. You want a bait that they really will commit to. And fishing a jig in cold water is one of those big baits, or a lot of them are big baits. What I meant to say was these are big bass baits. I just don't catch many little fish all winter. But the fish I catch are generally quality fish, 3 pounds plus. And I am back in some structure again. I'm going to give it this last cast and work that structure and just bang it off that wood down there. Oh, that's one of those I was not sure about. When you're unsure, set the hook. It does not cost a dime. But if you don't set the hook, that fish will blow it back out and you'll miss a great opportunity. There's a bite off the end of a tree. Oh, where you going? They say my anchor rope. Oh, get out of the rope. Another good fish. Look at here, boys and girls. Oh, easy, baby. Oh, he's wetting me in this cold water. Gotcha. Brent Quick, there you go, buddy. There's your jig. Mulberry River jigs are hard to beat. There's my colors I'm using. A little purple, blue looking, green flake. Got a green pumpkin crawl. Another quality fish out on this beautiful, windy, cloudy winter day. That's not quite as heavy as that other one, but that is a very decent fish. Now that one was off the edge of a tree. Oh, good Lord, don't do that. That will definitely put the adrenaline to flowing. Oh, twisted my line on the end. Whew, got my breath. That fish pulled me off the bottom. Got me spinning around. Got my line tangled up. There we go. Now I can reach down here and check my line out because I got in that tree a little bit. Never underestimate. Knot looks good. Line feels good even though it's cold and wet. I haven't had a bass tooth touch that line yet. I really ought to retie, but I don't know if my cold hands can do it. That was something else. Now I did get drifted back off of my target I was throwing, but you can see it better now. This big tree coming in the water, and for all my buddies that fished Ingram's Lake, you're going to recognize that tree immediately, and I'm sure it'll have the bark beat off of it before I come back next time. But if you'll look 25 feet out from that tree, where you can see it, you still got limbs in the water. That is where that fish was, not tucked up in it, out off of it, 15, 20 feet deep, just like Jesse said. That's where the fish are. They're not tucked up to the bank. They're not on every fallen log. They might have been a week ago, but our weather, yeah, I'm back in the tree now. That tree spreads out when it gets in the water. Even though I've cast a pretty good way from it, there's a lot of tree down there still, and it spreads way out. That tree's been here a long time. It's been fished by thousands of fishermen. It's a regular community spot where people fish, and it regularly produces fish. But right now they're not on the tree, they're off the tree. They're out to where the water begins to go to deep water. That is so much fun. It is just unbelievable. Can't feel my hands. Didn't put my gloves back on after I pulled my anchor rope up. Now I can't hardly feel them. But the rest of my body's just warmed completely through and through from adrenaline, except for maybe my toes. Poor little toes, they feel like my fingers. Let that get to the bottom. It's down there. And the good thing with at least with a 3/8 ounce jig, it gets on down to the bottom pretty quick. And you can feel the bottom. You can even in the wind most of the time, unless it's 15 miles an hour, you can keep contact with that bottom. Maybe not that much. I got in some grass. But as long as you know what your bait's doing, you know how to work it. And I just want that thing to sort of tumble along, slide along a little quick, and then just tumble along a little bit. I don't want it jumping way off the bottom. Crawfish, just like bass, they're not that active this time of year. They're slowed down as well. So if your prey doesn't act right or act natural, I don't think the fish are near as apt to bite it unless it's doing what the other crawfish are doing. Or if you're fishing a jerk bait or a spinner bait or whatever you choose, you want to make it look as much like whatever these fish are already feeding on. I mean, that's like a fly fisherman matching the hatch. You want that bug, if the other bugs are floating down a stream, not moving, that's what you want your fly to do. Same way with a jig. If a crawfish is barely moving on the bottom, just twitching every now and then, that's what you want your jig to do. Matching the hatch. Same principle. Bass fisherman, fly fisherman, does not matter. Same idea.